Alright, so let's start with our meditation. Sit up in an alert position comfortably, and as you hear the sound of the bell, let it clear your mind and bring your attention to this present moment. And as the bell fades, just stay with your attention in this present moment, in that quiet space in your mind. And we'll begin by taking 3 deep, relaxing breaths together. First deep breath in. And exhale. And in. And exhale. And in. And exhale. Now continue breathing deeply but gently into your abdomen. And begin to breathe more and more slowly until you're breathing as slowly as possible. Without being uncomfortable. As you're breathing slowly, allow the muscles in your body to relax. Let the muscles in your face relax. Make sure that your eyes are perfectly still underneath your eyelids. And begin to become very much aware of the room that you're in. Feel the temperature of the room. Notice the sounds. The smells, the tastes. Notice any sensations on your skin. Feel the energy of the room. Feel the energy of the beings around you. Now smile, and really force yourself to smile. And just notice the good feelings that begin to arise in you from simply smiling. And really welcome these feelings and cultivate these feelings. And enjoy these feelings of happiness and joyfulness as we consciously bring them up inside of us. Welcome, welcome to Satsang. welcome people on Facebook. Jamie is joining us from Washington, D.C. He's off in tax season again. So we haven't had satsang in a couple weeks. What did you notice? And please use the microphones when you speak. I missed it. Okay. What did you miss exactly?
The people, the energy, calmness.
Yeah.
I
Appreciate that.
I kind of find it to be a weekly reset button, kind of, and just okay, that's right. This is what I'm doing. This is what works. Because it doesn't all fall apart at once. It's just like it gets just eroded away, kind of chips away. One bank washes out, and So yeah, I find it very helpful to ground here.
It's a really good point. It's subtle, like the changes are kind of subtle, and all of a sudden, like it feels like all of a sudden you're finding yourself in a very difficult place, right? And like you're just stirred up inside, and you're trying to figure out, why am I getting upset about little things? Why am I upset right now? It's important that you see that, because I want to bring the lights up here a little bit. Now I can see it. Good? Okay. It's a very interesting contrast, because it's very unusual that there is like satsang like this every week. Normally it would be satsang for a few days, or a retreat for a few days, or an 8-week course or something like that. And you pay for it, and it has a beginning and a middle and an end, and it's over, and when it's done, you say, oh, I did that. There is a reason that I do it this way, that I'm here every week teaching, almost every week, because this is what works. This is a gradual process. Many people who have been around for a long period of time say things like, I don't know what happened, but the things that used to upset me just don't upset me anymore. And I don't behave the way I used to behave, and my mind is calm, and all of these things. Spirituality is a practice, okay? And whether you realize it or not, you have been practicing your whole life being neurotic, being upset, and being negative, being judgmental, and you're very good at it. And so by staying engaged in something like this over an extended period of time, you begin to undo that conditioning, But it takes time. And it's so easy to slip back into your old conditioning. Like you'll do it before you ever notice it. It's such automatic pilot, Our habits, the way we think and be are so ingrained in us that we don't even notice when we're doing it. We do notice the results. We notice when we get into a painful place. We notice when we get into a bad relationship, or the same relationship over and over again that we don't want. We notice when we've created a circumstance or an experience that we don't want to experience. We notice the result, but we don't notice how we're creating it and recreating it and recreating it. It's all coming from our mind. So it's important that you see, like what it's like to be away from satsang, and what it's like coming back to satsang, because it's subtle. to really train your mind, to really have a spiritual practice, takes devotion. Not discipline, but devotion. Devotion is a love-based word. It's a heart-based word. You know, you're devoted to yourself. You're devoted to your spiritual practice. You're devoted to your peaceful mind. And as such, you stay consistently in practice. That's what makes the difference. That's the difference between the master and the student. And I'm not calling myself a master. Okay? When you stay engaged, when you make it consistent, it's kind of like you're just wearing very slowly away. You're just wearing all of that conditioned mind stuff away, and you're coming into presence, and you're getting comfortable in I want to be careful how I say it. You become more and more comfortable going beyond the mind, being without mind, being without thought. Because when you look back on your life, it's just like one long sentence that's gone on in your head ever since you can remember. It's thought after thought after thought after thought after thought. And so we've been identified as thought after thought after thought after thought. And we think that these thoughts are really, really, really important, and we very much habitually keep getting pulled back into this mind-based conceptual reality that's based in time, in past and future. And that's what we're suffering. But to truly be present in the moment, to really be present and stay present, is something that you have to practice. And when I say practice, I don't mean think about. Because that is so the tendency. Is that, okay, I want to be present. I've got to be present. You're thinking about being present. That's not being present. The moment you start thinking about being present, you stop being present. And that's why I want to take you guys out in the woods in the middle of nowhere. And yeah, and hopefully you'll experience presence. Like, I don't even really want to play music or anything when we're out there. I mean, maybe we will, maybe we won't. I don't know. You know, we'll just see how it goes. But the idea is to unplug from all of this and to just go be out there under the moonlight with the birds and panthers. But really, like, I have found that when I am in nature, it's like a warm blanket around me. It's so soothing. It's so peaceful. And my heartbeat begins to beat with the very slow heartbeat of nature. And I begin to just, I don't want to leave. It's such a comfortable place for me to be. You know, when I'm on the road and people are whizzing by and phones and this and that, it stirs me up. You know, your mind, your peaceful mind is like a pond on a calm day, you know? And it's like a sheet of glass. And you look into that pond and the reality around it is reflected perfectly. But what happens when you throw one pebble into the middle of the pond? It's distorted. It ripples, and when it gets distorted, your reflection of the reality around it is distorted. Your mind is that subtle. It is incredibly subtle. It is incredibly sensitive. That's why even when you're here in this room, particularly at the Duncan Center, which has nice energy, and you're here with conscious beings, meditating, being present, you feel that. It's like a tuning fork. You know, you hit one tuning fork and then hold one next to it, and they both begin to vibrate at the same frequency. Notice that. Because you want to get into that space and get comfortable in that space. Because at first it can be a little uncomfortable. Sometimes it can be a lot uncomfortable. I mean, if I wanted to torture somebody, I would just put them in a room, tell them to be quiet for an hour. It's like impossible. And that is very strange. We don't have problem being in motion. We don't have problem going a million miles an hour. We have problem stopping. And it's cyclical. We go through cycles. We go through cycles of very high energy, high creativity, and then we go through low cycles. I'm in a low cycle right now, and I know it. And I know that you guys miss satsang when we don't have it. You know, I'm sensitive to that. But there are times when I just need to stop. Most teachers don't teach as much as I do. And when they take hiatus, they go for 6 months.
Well, we're coming with it.
But I want it to be like a lesson to you. You know, that what we do to ourselves and the way that we function in life, and then we expect ourselves to be settled inside and our mind to be clear and peaceful, it's not very realistic in most cases. But it's the way that we've created our society, you know, and this is not a condemnation or judgment of the world. It's just saying that somewhere you have to realize that you're a very subtle being, that you are affected subtly by so many things, by the amount of water you have in you, the amount of food you have in you, the barometric pressure, the alignment of the stars, some say, who knows, by the people around you, the people you interact with, by nature, by electronics, by whatever. You know? Because what our desire is just to feel peaceful inside. But nobody feels that. Very few people can be in that space for an extended period of time. That's so unfortunate. And some people get very, very upset. You know, there was someone that I worked with years ago, and she lives where I live, in the same building, as a matter of fact. And she struggled and struggled. She only worked with me very, very briefly and then stopped. That was a few years ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago. And she took her own life yesterday. 36 years old. With me living 30 seconds away from her. I mean, what a tragedy. And, you know, I've been hearing a lot of that stuff lately, and I think that might be part of the heaviness that I feel, because I have a very true empathetic nature. That, you know, when I'm talking with you, I'm not just looking in your eyes and talking with you. I'm feeling you. I'm feeling your energy. I'm feeling the energy of the crowd. And it shapes how I speak. You see it more at full moon when there are bigger crowds and there's different energies. I never speak the same twice there. And, you know, there have been times I've even gotten up and started walking around just because I couldn't connect with, energetically, with the crowd. You know, it's what we do here is so incredibly important. Your state of mind is so incredibly important. And it's, what I was saying before, just to digress, is that empathetically, what a true empath needs to learn to do is to be able to take negative energy from people, but not hold on to it and keep it. Process it and let it go. I'm processing energy that students don't know how to process. I process it for them. Okay? And you may understand that, you may not. But, lately, there's just been a lot of that around. There were two overdose cases that I've found out about. Fatal overdose cases, and then this, and I feel that heaviness when it comes. And so it's been, I know that look, I just need a break. When I tell you I need a break, there's only one reason. I need a break. And I'm no good to you if I run myself into the ground. And when I take a break, I want you to take that time and take a break too. To just give to yourself. Take some time to just make yourself a nice meal and sit down and then sip a cup of tea and go to bed early and rest. One of the things that we really don't do is rest. Tired brain is one of my worst conditions. When I'm tired, I'm just terrible. But we expect so much from ourselves. We really just expect way too much. And what we have is a society of people that expect so much from themselves, and they're all on medication because they can't function that way, so they got to goose themselves chemically to somehow provoke themselves to exist in that. I think we can agree that we're not a very mentally healthy society. But it's because we don't put our mind first. I always put my mind first. My mind comes before Peaceful Mind Center. It's the only thing that comes before Peaceful Mind Center. Why? Because without my mind, there is no Peaceful Mind Center. Number one thing. Ooh. We got cut off here. Let me restart it. So how have you guys been feeling? Talk to me. Has anyone else been feeling the heaviness, or? Yeah?
I've always felt that this month was the toughest month of my life. Like when I was up north, it was because of the winter, right? But even down here, it's a lot more crowded. There's a lot more weird energy down here right now, just driving down the street. It's not as light. The weather isn't quite as good. So I don't know why I'm never prepared for this, because I've done 62 of them. But the fact is, and we were talking about this earlier, is this is one of those times to pay attention to those things. And I find that I don't. And coming here today, I started saying I'm not drinking enough water. I'm not really sleeping. I'm actually sleeping more, but feeling more tired. And things like that are just... The more I'm aware of them, the more maybe I don't have to suffer that, like next February.
Yeah, it's sorry, give me 1 second because this is acting up here. I don't know why. I think a big part of my spiritual practice is really just observing my state constantly. Just constantly watching the ebb and flow of what's going on. We're not like this, you know. I mean, I used to be like this. Now I'm like this. But never really like this, you know. It's these, you know, it's this constant, you know, you get very sensitive to, you know, like you notice that maybe you're not sleeping quite right. You know what I mean? That your eyes are closed, but maybe you're not resting. You know, that can be part of it. Sleep is extraordinarily important, and for me, I have the that neck problem, right? And so sometimes if I flop around, I'm laying there, but my neck is, there's like a knife in my neck, and I'm getting that kind of Vietnam sleep where I'm kind of sleeping, but one eye is open. But yeah, it's true. You know what I mean? Like you feel the heaviness, you feel the weirdness in the world, you feel it. It affects you. So we're going out into the middle of the woods to try and get away from it a little bit. Yeah, this won't stay. Oh well. But it's I put tremendous effort, tremendous devotion into maintaining my state of mind. And my state of mind, my inner state, is the most important thing in my life, period. Period. And when I manage it like that, I'm able to keep myself where I want to be, you know? When I don't, then it starts managing me. It's a challenge to be human. It's hard to be human. Right?
So far.
Yeah, it's such a weird thing.
Well, and I think that it's so hard to focus on yourself when you feel like you're pulled in so many different directions. I mean, there are so many other people and other things going on that to say, oh yeah, I'm the most important thing, that can be hard.
You know, that's a great point. Like, you've really got to begin to arrange your life in a way that feels good to you, you know? I mean, there are going to be other people. There's going to be people pulling at you. But really, the priority is up to you. You know, it's what you prioritize in your life is what's going to happen. You know, people prioritize very unhealthy habits all the time, you know? And there's always time and money for that stuff, you know? But when it comes to taking care of yourself, you know, then it's excuses. But it really is, you know, I talk about that a lot. I talk about it sort of indirectly because I know that most of you are kind of in the, I don't want to call it a trap directly, but, you know, just a normal sort of day-to-day functioning in life, getting up, going to work, you know, we work too much. You know, it's too much because there's no time left for you to take care of you. So you burn out, you get upset, you get to a point of exhaustion, and then your body shuts down or gets ill, and then you have to take a rest. We don't rest enough. We put way too much. You know, we just keep piling more stuff on ourselves. For what? For what? Because we think it's going to make us feel good.
And when we finally do take a vacation, when we finally do take a vacation, it's not to rest. It's to see how crazy we can get
Yeah.
for how long
Yeah,
and how
right.
much of our paycheck we could spend before we have to go back to work
Yeah.
because we really need the rest.
Yeah, yeah. And then you need a vacation after your vacation to rest up, right? It's true. It's true. It's true. But all of these things add up to very disturbed state of mind. You know, the mind, again, very, 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 very subtle. And you are unconsciously creating the causes and conditions for your mind to be disturbed. And so your mind is disturbed.
You find you can control your state of mind when you're driving?
What do we call that? Road Shempa, right? I never control my mind. Let me be really clear about that. When I notice that I'm saying, are you Bobby? What is your name?
Jeff.
Jeff. I'm sorry. Is Bobby here? No Bobby. Okay, he didn't come. You notice that you're saying my mind, right? So there's a me that has a mind. And in our own rhetoric is evidence that even what's going on in my mind is not me, really. That it's my mind, and my mind is driving me crazy. In this practice, what we practice often, and you'll hear me talk about often, is that you will realize that you are in observance of your mind, that you are the awareness that is aware of the craziness that's going on in your mind. And you don't control it. It just arises in you. And who knows where it comes from and who knows where it goes to. But it arises in you. But you are the one that is aware of it. You are the one that can choose to participate in it or not. It will be there. I can dive into craziness anytime I want to. But the moment that I take away my attention from that part of my mind, it doesn't matter what's going on in that part of my mind. Because without my attention, thoughts are powerless. With my attention, they've got me by the throat. And it's such a strange thing for most people to hear, because most of us are very much identified as the thoughts in my mind. What arises in my mind is me. That voice in my head is me. No, it's not. And don't believe me when I say that. Believe yourself. You just said my mind. You know it. I'm just dusting it off for you. So when I'm on the road, this is a good time to practice. Someone will drive like a maniac, you know, and I'll feel that come up in me, and I just take a breath and let it go, like a hot coal, you know. What did George Carlin say? There are two kind of people on the roads. Remember that? Idiots and maniacs. Come on, you idiot! Look at this idiot! Jeez, yeah. Whoa! Did you see that maniac? How's your practice going? Do you meditate every day? Always? Could you speak in the mic, please? You know better. I'm going to give you demerits soon.
My mother used to do that when we were little.
Demerits?
Give us demerits or stars.
Used to
Just
get
don't
them in-
push my button with a demerit.
Even better. Now I have a really powerful button.
It's almost like a meditation. The entire day is a meditation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whether I sit there for 10 minutes or 30 minutes in the morning when I wake up with my coffee and I'm meditating, or it's just these peaceful moments throughout the day where you just close your eyes and take a deep breath. And, you know, I'll say, where are you? And my brain answers here. Who are you this moment? And so it's one long continuous meditation throughout the day. And it was interesting what Tom was saying, that when you're, and with you, everything just becomes second nature. You're not even trying to do things. It just happens that somebody cuts you off, you send them what they're lacking, compassion and patience. You're sending them good thoughts. Your knee-jerk reaction isn't negative anymore towards people. It's kindness. Someone's rude, you don't get affected. You're sending them what they're lacking. You're sending them empathy. They're missing empathy. So it's becoming second nature to just give to people what they're lacking in that moment and becoming an observer of the world. You asked before, what have you been noticing lately this month? To me, it never changes. There isn't anything different this month than there is, last month or last week. There's stress in the world. There's people that are asleep. They're focused on the wrong. I don't want to use the word wrong, but so much technology, so much stress, so much this. And so nothing has changed. And you become an observer of it. And you send humanity your compassion. That's what I've been doing.
Wonderful.
So it's just, that doesn't mean my buttons don't get pushed, but it's staying with me less.
Yeah.
It'll stay with me for a moment rather than a day. It'll stay with me for a day rather than a week.
Yeah.
It comes and goes faster.
Isn't it strange to be human? Like when you really
Yeah.
start to observe, you're not only observing the world, the outer world, right? But you're observing your own inner world and how that fluctuates, and has seasons and has weather, you know what I mean? Your inner world. I think that's like one of the most interesting parts of my practice, is just sort of observing my own inner craziness, sort of, and it's not the world. Like the heaviness that I feel. There were 4 or 5 deaths that I heard about in the last week. You know what I mean? And and I was feeling the heaviness before it even happened. Which is something I don't want to explain, but it's the world is the way that the world is, and what's happening in the world is happening in the world. That's never the problem. The problem is what's happening in me. The problem is that I can't come to presence. I can't come to center. I can't let go of my thoughts, because what we suffer is our thoughts. There is like an inherent discomfort that seems to come with being human. We all know that this is a temporary ride, and that one day we're going to be gone. Go out of this form anyway, and we never know when that's going to happen. And so there's a discomfort that can come with that. Again, future-based though. But I find it so interesting, so fascinating to just watch my own inner weather. It blows in, it blows out, and I'm just the one watching it. I'm not the one really even experiencing. Like I notice the sensations, I notice the feelings, I notice the energy, I notice the tightening of the body. All of this is observed by me. And I just watch. I think, boy, being human's such a strange thing. It's so uncomfortable most of the time to be human. I'm okay with the discomfort. It's there. I make no judgment of the discomfort. But part of being human is being in discomfort. True? Yeah. Are you all experiencing it right now? Right? It's just a weird... And it's when the discomfort becomes so great that we start to act from it, like it starts to motivate us, it starts to change our way of being and thinking, that's when discomfort becomes a problem. All addictions are based in discomfort. Addiction is pain-based. If there's no pain, there's no addiction. Period. Because what happens is there's pain, and then someone will use something chemical to placate the pain, but the chemical thing creates more pain, and so they need more of it, and then the cycle just goes. But it starts with pain. We're different people when we're in pain. And all we really desire is peace. See, this is the interesting thing, that people, when they really have not really thought about this, all you want is to feel good. But there's two different feel-goods, okay? There's mind-based feel-good, right? And there's the peace and joy that is your true nature. What's the difference? Between mind-based happiness and the peace and joy that is your nature. Tom?
I'll try it. I think that mind-based happiness is usually relief from suffering that you already caused. Like your mind almost makes things uncomfortable so it can fix them. Mm-hmm. And that's a relief. It's not really a happiness. Mm-hmm. But the other one is just your nature is just to be happy.
Yes. Yeah. Anybody else? Go ahead.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking, and I think it's because you've mentioned it before, when everything's lining up just the way we think it should, then we're feeling pretty happy.
Yes, right.
And so, yeah, I don't know, what would that inner peacefulness really be like, or
Excellent.
Tell me more about
Excellent. I will. Go ahead.
I was thinking pretty much the same thing, but that it doesn't really get there with the mind happiness. It's like it's supposed to be a plan, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I got the job, or I got this, but it's very momentary, and then all of a sudden you're like, well, what's next? Where the other presence is just being presence. It's not contingent upon things working out this way or things not working out. It's like a epoch in your space where you can just be.
Yes.
And you're not defining yourself basically on the outer world, or even the quality of your thoughts or what they mean, trying to interpret them.
It's a really strange thing that mind-based happiness is when the world and other people in the world around you are the way that your mind thinks they should be, then you're happy. How often does that happen?
When does that happen?
Yeah, I heard, right, I've heard rumors that happened, but never experienced it myself. But when things are the way your mind thinks they should be, then you're happy. But things always change. So they're not going to stay that way. So the mind very easily becomes happy, or like you were saying, Dawn, that then it's just the next thing. All right, everything's the way I want it. Well, what do I need to want next? You know what I mean? It's never satisfied. But it's that versus the peace and joy that you are, that you experience in the absence of mind. And this is something that I really want you to understand, is that, when you're happy for no reason, you're getting a taste of what I'm talking about. That this transcendent state going beyond the mind. Because the mind is where all the problems are. All the judgments, all the ideas about how life should be and all this other stuff. This is where all the problems are. They're all thought-based problems. They're conceptual problems, ideas that you've created in your head. I was talking to somebody about this. If I knock you on the head with a coconut and you got amnesia, you wouldn't have any of the problems that you think you have right now. The next question is, where's the coconut, right? I have a coconut right here. But that's the interesting thing. If you simply forgot your problem for 10 minutes, it couldn't bother you. So you can see how it's the mind has been trained and conditioned, by the environment we grew up in, the world we grew up in, and all of these other things to think and perceive and be a certain way. And so, like in psychology, like you go see your therapist, and that has value. But in psychology, you're dealing with mind on the level of mind. So you're trying to figure out this and this. Oh, well, I'm not happy now because my mom did this when I was 10 years old, and, now that's why my life is all screwed up. And, Wayne Dyer said it perfectly when he said, when you're because Wayne Dyer was in an orphanage. Wayne Dyer was an orphan. And so Wayne said, he's like, when you're an orphan, you don't care. He's like, one time they brought this little girl in, and she said, the woman said, go meet Wayne, he'll show you around. And she was so upset. And I was looking at her, and I was like, what do you mean you're upset? There's no parents here. We can do whatever we want. Come on, and they just started having fun. And he said, it's not until you're 40 and your life doesn't turn out the way you want it that you start going, oh, yeah, well, I was an orphan, and, this happened to me, and that happened to me, and, it doesn't matter. It's the mind is where all of your problems occur. And when you're in therapy about it, and sometimes you need cognitive stuff to just get clear about what you're trying to let go of sometimes, but when you're in therapy about it, you're just trying to understand and get your mind in a place that doesn't hurt so much. But what happens when you go beyond mind? This is the difference between psychology and spirituality. What happens if you transcended the mind? What happens if you go beyond all concepts, all ideas, including the concept and idea that you have of yourself? What happens then? You leave the mind behind, and you experience that natural peacefulness and joyfulness that is your true nature, that is just the self, that is just there, that has been covered up all these years by the mind. Is that worth working for? That's what we're working for. That's what we're practicing for. To transcend the mind, to go beyond the mind, to stay in as simply as the observer, the natural, pure awareness. When you come to this world, you didn't come here, Jenny. You didn't come here, Antoinette. You came here, and that's where the concept started. You got labeled. Bird, fish, Jenny. Same thing. And now, what is a bird? What is a fish? What is a Jenny? Now you have an idea of what a Jenny is. And it's never the same moment to moment even. You're not the same person you thought you were a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Which one are you? It's all a big misunderstanding. And we are suffering our identification with mind. We just are. And everything that we suffer is mind created. And if you're suffering and I'm sitting next to you, I can't experience it. It's yours. It's inside you. So you know that your mind is creating it for you. And what you've got to work for is to get away from the mind. Like, you can't keep going back to the mind that's creating the problem for the solution. The mind is the problem. And your mind is probably really arguing with you about that right now. Oh, you need me. You want to get rid of me. Can you see what I'm saying? Does it make sense? A little bit? Good. Yeah, I mean, a little bit is good. See, because here's the thing, is that, like, what your tendency is going to be is to, you know, you're going to go home and you're going to think about what I'm saying. Huh? You just start there. And then listen, you know, the interesting thing is that you need understanding right up until the point where you understand that you don't need it anymore. You know, and what happens is that you realize that you are not the thoughts in your mind. You know, I can tell you that, and you can say that to other people. You know, you're not the other thoughts in your mind. You don't know. You know what I mean? You can say that. But until you realize that, it's just another concept in your mind. Well, that's the realization. You know, when you realize it, it's just you don't need any words. When I say realize, what I mean is you experience it for yourself. I can tell you about it. We can talk about it, you know? But until you experience it for yourself, it's just words. But you do not need thoughts. Thoughts are not required to be in this experience. And all the problems that you have are thought-based problems. And even if you're sick, even if you have whatever, that's not a problem. That's just reality, you know? That's just being human. Make a comment? Okay.
I found it helps me when I give myself homework, when there's practical application of what you're reading, what we're learning, what, you know, all this.
Mm-hmm.
And to just wake up each day, like you just take one day at a time, like you're on a diet. And you say, today, I'm going to see every single thing that unfolds, every single thing, every person, everything that happens today as a movie I'm watching.
Mm.
And just be an observer of it, no matter who said, it doesn't even matter what happens throughout that day.
Mm.
And you watch it like a movie. And it's like you're outside, you know, things are outside of you. They don't affect you. They don't affect me.
Mm.
That doesn't mean I'm not human and things don't affect me or I get angry or upset. But to do this every day and just do it one day at a time. And it's so helpful because when something does happen in front of me, someone's mean or someone cuts me off or a family member or there's stress at work, I'm just an observer of it. And then over time, the more you do it, the more it just becomes natural to do it. And you're more at peace. At least I am.
Isn't it interesting how when you begin to do that, you begin to really notice how affected you are by like every little thing. How easy it is to be set off. Just run down your Facebook news feed. You know, you get to the fourth thing and you feel the hair on your neck stand up. It's so we are so subtle that way. And when you really start to get in tune with the subtlety of it, you start to understand that this is something that really needs to be coddled, you know?
It takes practice.
It takes practice and awareness, though. Mostly, practice, of course, devotion to practice. But the interesting thing about practice is that you have to really be clear about what you're practicing. That's one of the main purposes of satsang here, is for you to continually refine your practice. You know, for you to continually get a deeper understanding of your practice. Because, you know, the more clearly that you understand what it is that you're trying to do in your practice, the more fruitful your practice is going to be. People's problem is that they don't practice. That's the problem, you know. Is first of all, you really do have to know what you're practicing. You know what I mean? That's really important. So, if we're going to say, and we have to get to our meditation soon.
Yeah, my mind is saying, where the hell's the clock?
Yeah. They stole it from the other room. There's some other people here, but so before we get to our meditation, does anybody have any answers to that question? When you're practicing, what are you practicing? How do you practice? You know, we're here, we want to be in a spiritual practice. What are you practicing?
I'm letting go of the thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Good. Letting go of,
What doesn't concern you.
right? You're letting go of thoughts and what doesn't concern you. What do you do with the things that do concern you? You hang on to those?
I'm not really concerned about much.
Yeah, see, that is working.
I'm becoming more intrigued with. I'm trying to be quiet enough to see how really subtle my mind is.
Mm.
You know, to try to see some of those places that I never saw before, of where it's starting to lead me back. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That it's saying, oh, this don't do that. It's not safe. Come on back where it's safe. And to be able to see that, it's not by any means like finished, but just starting to understand how truly subtle my mind is.
Yeah. See, that's a really, really big part of it, is like just being aware of what the mind is up to. Yeah, very subtle, very clever, and can really justify some really bad behavior, you know, in very convincing ways. And, you know, who else? When you're practicing, what are you practicing?
Being present.
Being present? Would you take the mic?
Totally.
Yeah, I know. I thought like...
No sleeping with the mic. I actually had one of those meditation experiences where you're like, this is my mind already out of it because I'm saying that was such a good experience. But being present, I want to say to the nature that you are born into, the nature that you would be, you know, like we say, if you're a child, like, are you conscious? You don't know the names. You don't, but it doesn't necessarily mean that things don't have meaning or importance. And for me, the meditation that I was referring to, I live really close to the beach, and I had all the windows open, and I was just listening to the waves, and I was breathing with the waves. And I have no idea how long I was doing this for. To me, it felt like minutes, but
Right.
it turned out it was hours.
Wow.
That I'd gained, that I was present. And it was like I felt there was no separation between the air and my molecules. Like I could almost like feel the molecules in the air, and then it was like I could feel the molecules in the sand, and then in the ocean, and then like in this, and it was like one of those, like the Big Bang Theory, where they show you like the whole evolution of mankind. It was like the whole spiritual connectedness. Like I was like, I've just never been happier in my life. I felt connected to everything. And I was just lying on my bed with the windows open. And that was it, you know? No, but then listen, I'm sorry I'm going on a tangent. But the next day, of course, I had a good meditation. And I'm trying to get there again and again, and I can't. So I decide I'm going to get there in my dreams. I'm going to do the lucid dreaming thing, because I was really into that before. And I told Sherry that I've been writing things down. And now everything, like, for like, the week that I didn't see you, it was like my mind couldn't help it. I had to find some kind of, you know, source. So I would have these dreams, and sure enough, symbols would reoccur. But then I would overanalyze. I was like, so I was trying to get out of his house, and the doorknob came off. What does that mean? It means I should not see him again. But the doorknob was on the inside, so maybe it means I should stay in. And it was like, this is just an example, but like I would torture myself with these symbols that I'm getting while I'm unconscious.
Mm.
And I'm like, okay, this is like what you're talking about, the mind trying to understand the mind. I'm getting information while I'm unconscious. I'm trying to be conscious while I'm unconscious to get symbols to use my consciousness about to understand my unconscious. And I'm
Yeah.
like, this is just a mess. So basically, within 2 weeks, I was like, I needed a tune-up. It was just, I guess part of it is, for my practice, is understanding that I need some consistency and a source and people like you guys to maintain and help me remember my practice.
You know, the first experience that you described, you know, do you hear how profound that is? How it has nothing to do with life being any certain way. There's no needs, there's no wants, there's no judgments. You know, when you transcend the mind like that, even for a moment, and you have sort of what they would call a satori experience, a transcendent experience, you experience peace and joy that I am describing of our nature. When you're there, try and get really comfortable there. You know, like really stay there and get used to that. Because when you get used to being in that state, it's easier, more and more becomes easier to cultivate that state. Because at first, when you have a transcendent moment, you feel like you're going crazy. Because everything that you think and believe that is real is gone, including yourself. Like, you know, what you think you are is an idea in your head. So when you go beyond thoughts, your idea of who you think you are is gone too. So you feel like you're disappearing. But the only thing that's disappearing is that which was never real. And when it does, it's great. It's just so joyful and blissful. And it's so wonderful. And so my life is really centered around the practice of having that experience and holding that experience. Why? Because when I've let go of my mind and come present fully into the moment, what more is there? The rest is all fake. The rest is all lies. The rest is all imagination and memories. It's all an illusion.
I saw Dr. Edgar Mitchell speak. He was one of the astronauts that went on the moon.
Wow.
And he describes what Dawn was talking about. It's amazing. It's probably on YouTube, but he gives a speech talking about that connection. When he was coming back from the moon in the ship, he just describes this complete connection that he had, and it changed his life forever. So after he got back, he pulled away from the whole NASA science thing and became super spiritual. And NASA and the government, a lot of people rejected his thoughts because it's not the mainstream science.
It's
So he
not
kinda
science
want-
at all, yeah.
Yeah, he went on his own path and discovered noetics and all these different spiritual pathways. And, you know, he lost a lot of his science friends and everything, but he talks just what Don was talking about.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing here. Like this is no small thing.
Could I just piggyback on that?
Sure.
This is just going to be one of those things, a suggestion. Like, if you like I like to read the Celestine Prophecy, where it's like, what do you call it? An allegory? It's like it's demonstrating spirituality through a story. And I don't remember her name, but the book is called The Force, and the main character is based on that astronaut. And I've only read the first 2 chapters, and it's amazing.
Oh,
and
really?
it literally starts off with him going to in having this experience with the stars and the universe, and that's how it begins. It's called The Force. I don't remember who it's by. I can send it to you so you can put it on the webpage so people know, because
Okay.
it's
based on Dr. Edgar Mitchell?
yes, it's based off of him,
Wow.
like the main character.
Hope they make that into a movie.
Well, I don't know. I've only read the first 2 chapters, as I said, so I don't know where it goes from there, because I don't even read back covers to figure it out. But it's It was just I couldn't help mention because I just bought the book
Yeah.
seriously like a week ago.
Oh, that's so interesting. You know.
Yeah, and you're the one who he's the one who gave me the Celestine, anyway, the book that I wanted to read.
Yeah.
But he's like,
That's-
"Wow, that's amazing.
I don't remember that.
Yeah. But like what we're doing here is really important. What humanity is suffering from is identification with mind, to the point where we're killing ourselves and each other. And it's how much pain people can get in. But it comes from this very basic confusion. We have people in this room who are describing the experience that I'm describing to you. That this is not some pie in the sky thing that's only for a few people. And so I really want you to practice, and I want you to bring your questions back to me and ask your questions in satsang, because that's what I'm here for. I'm here to help you get clear about what you're practicing. I'm here to point you in a direction and help you stay in that direction. But you got to come back and ask questions. You got to give me feedback. You got to let me know where you are so that I can make sure that you're clear about what this process is. It's a great description, like really great description. Because, that state becomes more and more and more quote unquote normal, and then the mind identified state becomes very not normal anymore. And it used to be normal. It's on the chair there. It used to be like, oh my God, if I'm not thinking all the time, that's a problem. Now when I think, I'm like, oh, jeez. I just need to calm this down a little bit. Sean?
I think you talk about this Vietnamese guru guy who does this walking meditation.
Thich Nhat Hanh?
Yeah, that's who I was thinking of.
Yeah.
I read a little book on him somewhere, but he can be in complete meditative state walking around, and he kind of teaches that.
Mm-hmm.
So not just sitting there, but he can walk around and be in the complete oneness of it.
99% of the time, I'm in a meditative state. Right now, what I mean by that is nothing hokey. I just mean present. And it's if you sort of review the way that you've been living life, it's been, all right, what am I doing next? What am I doing next? Oh, what happened before? What happened before? And like 99% of your attention is either in the past or either in the future. And that's just how we were taught to live life, innocently. And so we're always back there or up there, back there or up there. A big part of my practice, and what I've really worked hard to train my mind, my attention, to be just in this moment with you. It's nowhere else. And when I start to suffer, when I start to get uncomfortable, I know that my attention is sneaking off into the future and imagine weird things. I know exactly what's happening. And sometimes I can pull it out, sometimes I can't. But even when I can't pull it out, I'm just observing what my mind is doing in that moment. It's okay, but I'm not getting pulled into my mind is the difference.
And you're aware of it.
And I'm aware that my mind is acting like an idiot, and I just have to tolerate it until it goes away. And that will happen. You know what I mean? Because I don't want to paint this picture that you're just supposed to, you know what I mean? Like be in this blissful state. Like, wow. It's not like that. Because you're going to think that, and you're going to think, oh, that this enlightenment stuff is not for me. No, it's for everyone. Everyone, not that I'm enlightened. I don't hear that. But what I'm saying is that I want to be very, very clear that this state, while it is a peaceful state, you're still observing your conditioned mind. You're still observing, the gymnastics that your mind is doing. It will still happen.
The pressure's not there.
The pressure is not there because it's not you anymore. You're just observing the mind acting out its programming.
So you're not having like a physical reaction. Heartbeat's not rhythm, blood pressure's not going.
For me personally, almost never. And it even surprises me sometimes, that something will happen and my heartbeat doesn't raise 1 beat a minute. It's you do become you do stay extraordinarily calm. And what I find is that when things around me are getting very excited and upset, I get more calm. I get like that, like when everybody else starts going up, I start going down. And I get hyper present, like when every second, like it's very, those moments will make me extraordinarily present. This is where I'm pointing you to. And it's going to take you time to move this from being a idea in your head to something that you're experiencing on a regular basis. And that's the challenge. Is to not, am I doing it right? He said to sit up straight. I'm breathing. Am I doing it? I don't know. I think I just experienced it for a moment. Wait, I don't know. And your mind is just like, would you just shut up and just relax? And what starts to happen is that even that chatter can be there, but you're just in observance of that too. Now, you relate this back to where I started this conversation on needing rest, on go notice the cycles that you're going through. Imagine, you just worked a 10-hour day, right? You skipped lunch, you haven't exercised, you haven't anything, there's lots of stuff to do when you get home. Are you going to be in this transcendent state? Hell no. And so, if we want to experience the transcendent state, we have to know what is causal in creating, how do we create the causes and conditions for that experience to happen, and focus on the causes. Simplify your life. Slow down. Do less, not more. Spend more time in practice. Make sure that you're eating right and exercising and are hydrated so that your brain functions better. Make sure that you're rested, because when you're tired, you ever see a little kid when they're tired? They're rotten little SOBs, no matter what. A tired child cannot be placated. And a tired mind, you're the same way, just because you're older. Same mind, same thing. Same crankiness, same everything. All right. So practice and bring your questions back. Okay? And I will keep pointing you. Keep pointing you, keep pointing you. It's all we want is to feel good. Feeling good is not arranging life in a way that we think it should be. That never works. Feeling good is transcending the mind and letting go of all of that. And you will just be at peace for no reason. Just in your natural state of peacefulness and joyfulness. Comprende? Shall we meditate? All right. Okay. Now just make sure you're sitting comfortably and are in an alert position. Try to have your spine straight, your chin neutral. Remember that meditation is a very alert practice. You're not going anywhere. I want you 150% here with me. Be only in this moment and nowhere else. Close your eyes. Breathe slowly and relax. Breathe slowly and relax. Bring all of your attention to the experience of breathing. Notice the way your rib cage is expanding and contracting. Notice that as your rib cage expands, air is drawn in through your nose. And as your rib cage contracts, air is pushed out. Notice the qualities of the air as it moves in and out of your body. You're breathing in cooler, drier air. You're pushing out warmer, more moist air. For the next several moments, just breathe and relax. Bring all of your attention to just the experience of breathing. Stay very present to the experience of breathing until you hear the bell. And relax. And breathe. much. And it's always an honor to share this time and space with you. Free hugs to whoever wants, the end of class. And I will see some of you on Saturday and some of you here again next week.